who better than me?
Welcome back to another episode of The Hardcore Casual with your boy, Bass the Kid. Please like and subscribe. As always, click notifications so that you get the updates of when the next episodes drop. I want to start this one off just by saying I've been a bit inactive this week. I've had a very long week, very stressful, a couple other reasons, but we're back now. We're going to be a lot more active again, especially now boxing's back. Also, I've recently just had to buy a new mic. Some of you will know in a lot of the previous videos had a little background music. I like to switch up a little bit, but there was a hiss, like a little hiss that was coming through the other one because it was a 3.5mm jack, which I had to get a converter for to plug into my phone in order to record the footage. And obviously the conversion was causing a bit of a madness. However, this one is a direct into the socket. So I'm going to leave the music off of this one just for the time being. I want everyone to tell me how it sounds. If it sounds better, no hiss or whatever, then maybe I'll leave the music off permanently moving forward. But if you prefer the music and actually like that in the background, let me know so I can make a decision on how I structure the videos moving forward. And plus, if I take the music out, that actually saves me time in editing. Might end up recording and uploading more videos, but that's for another time. For right now, there's a few topics I want to address today, so let's get into it. So it's been about a week since the purse bids happened for the Tyson Fury versus Dillian Whyte fight. And from what I can tell, as of right now, the 10% deposit for the fight has actually been paid to WBC, but there hasn't been any contracts issued. Although if you look at just the media on their own, apparently it's just Dillian Whyte's not signed the contract. But according to official sources, including Mauricio Solomon's Twitter, he hasn't received the contract from anybody yet, whether it's Tyson Fury or Dillian Whyte. So it seems as if there's a little bit of a smoke screen kind of going on. You've had Frank Warren sort of doing his biggest PR spin job that I can see thus far, talking about, oh, well, you know, Dillian got his highest payday ever through us, and if it wasn't for us, he wouldn't have made the money that he's making. And if Matchroom won the bid, then he would have been $2 million worse off than he was now. And it's funny how all of a sudden he's trying to sweet talk Dillian or make him feel as if, well, we're the ones that got you what you've always wanted. Because the whole reason it went to purse bid in the first place is because you didn't offer the guy the kind of money that he wanted to take the fight in a voluntary capacity. You offered 5.5 million with 25% of box office revenue. Now, the purse bid has basically null and voided any chance of them making money on this fight, in my opinion anyway, because 41 million 25,000 or something like that, and in dollars obviously, so what's that, like 34 million pounds, give or take. If we look at how much the gate could do realistically, I've said for the longest time that the fight can sell out a stadium, but I don't think it sells out the stadiums they're talking about. I don't think it sells out a 80,000 in Cardiff or a 90,000 at Wembley or 95,000 when you add like the seats onto the actual pitch. I don't think it does a 78,000 at Old Trafford. Maybe the Olympic, you know, the Olympic Park in East London where West Ham play, I reckon it could maybe do that one. That's about 60. like Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I reckon it could do that, but let's be real, don't really want to go there. I've heard it's a nightmare to get about, and I don't know how expensive it could be. That because it's a state of the art one, that might be a bit pricey still. Emirates, I mean, not that I'd want to go there, but you could probably sell out in Emirates. I've always said to people, I reckon they could get 60,000 in a stadium. But if you try to go somewhere 80, 90,000, like, they're just going to be bare empty seats. Or you're just going to have one section that's just, like, closed off. And you'll never see it on the camera. that just won't be a part of the... that won't be a part of the broadcast. But... either way, Dillian's been quiet at the moment. And everyone's going out of their mind about, oh, he's so quiet. Why hasn't he announced the fight yet? And Eddie Hearn he's done 2 interviews thus far. So he's done an interview with Behind the Gloves with Michelle Joy Phelps. And he's done an interview with Coogan, which came out earlier on today. Or I guess when you watch this, it will be yesterday. On IFL TV, basically saying, well, look, there's no contract been sent to us yet. Nothing's been signed. Like, why is he going to promote something that, number one, hasn't been signed, and number two, like, he's busy. He's in camp. Like, what's he going to be devoting his energy to this for right now? And I can see, like, Tyson Fury's goading him on social media. You've got everyone saying, oh, he's quiet, he's going to pull out. Like, why he's not normally as quiet. You got Frank Warren losing his mind, like, shoulder rolling his joints out of sockets every minute. Because, well, why won't he act professional? Like, we got him his highest payday ever. And the narrative, like, the spin on the whole story is actually just funny to me. Because if you genuinely wanted him to have his shot and wanted him to have his highest ever payday, you would have offered it to him without the threat of a purse bid. The only reason they bid as high as they bid is because they did not want Matchroom to get the show. And and even to the point in the interviews, some people might say, it's Eddie's just being bitter. Of course he wanted the show. He said, boy, we would have lost a lot of money on that show, only for the guy to then not show up. Now, taking the second part aside, because whether he shows up or not is irrelevant at this point, but putting that kind of money into it, there's no guarantee that you're getting that back. There's only certain people that are bankable to that level. Like, you can throw that kind of money behind Anthony Joshua right now. You can throw that kind of money behind Canelo. Is there anyone else? If you're in Japan, you can throw that kind of money again behind Murata or Inoue. Or even maybe, probably you could even do it for someone like Golovkin, or, or in Russia, you could probably throw that kind of money behind Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, because they're big stars over there. So the equivalent amount of that money you can throw to those, maybe even Zhilei Zhang, you might be able to throw that kind of money behind him in China. I don't know that market particularly well to say that, but yeah, if those are the only people you could say you can throw out that money and you're definitely going to get it back. Tyson Fury, no, I mean, he's good at getting money. He's not really good at making it for other people, of course. And I mean, there's only ever been one fight on this current contract he's had that he's made a profit for the company, and that's the very last Deontay Wilder fight, and that's only because the costs were about 1/5 the amount of the costs of the previous Fury Wilder fight. They lost money on the Otto Wallin fight, they lost money on the Tom Shorts fight. The very first Wilder and Fury fight, obviously he didn't have the promotional deal at that time, so I think Showtime, was it Showtime it was on? Or was it ESPN? No, it was Showtime, yeah. Or was it Fox? Either way, you guys can tell me about it in the chat. I don't remember. I think it was Fox that one might have been on. But yeah, like, he made money. They made money there. Not a huge amount, but decent, I suppose. So yeah, I mean, he's not exactly the cash cow. The majority, from what I've heard, all the Wilder Fury fights, the second one, the third one, the Schwartz fight, the Wallin fight, the crowd was not full in the arena. There were over 3,000 tickets comped in both the Schwartz and the Wallin fight. I remember those reports. So you can't bank on him to fill out the arena. Now, Dillian can fill out stadiums over here. He's done it a couple of times, but even he hasn't filled out stadiums every time he's fought. The Rivas fight wasn't full. Chisora 2, I think, was. Parker was. He was obviously an undercard of Joshua in Saudi Arabia. What other main events does he do? Povetkin was in lockdown, so you can't really count that one. Then there's Gibraltar, but people travelled over to Gibraltar for that. I think what was 1,000 people, something like that. So, look, ultimately, yeah, Frank is basically doing his nut because him and Bob know that they've just pissed up a lot of money at this point, and it's quite funny to see how the spin job is. Oh, Dillian's not cooperating, he's gonna pull out because we haven't heard anything, when really and truly it's just like, well, from what we know, the contract ain't signed yet, and the contract hasn't even been presented. And even when it is presented, ultimately it doesn't have to be signed and sent back until the 21st of February. Why is he gonna put unnecessary energy into the promotion like right now when it's not guaranteed? That's how I see it. Now look, if we're gonna be fair, you know, Dillian also has a history of maybe not taking fights, so there is a legitimate claim to say he might not take the fight if he doesn't believe things are to his favor, if he doesn't like the contract. You know, he did pull out of the Pulev mandatory negotiations with the IBF, hence why he did get removed from those rankings, although he stopped paying his fees. But to be fair, he pulled out of the Pulev fight to fight a better fight with Joseph Parker and a more lucrative fight. Made sense. So give him a little bly with that. He had the option to fight AJ for 3 belts in Wembley, but I'll give him a bly for that one as well. Why he turned that down? Simply because he fought in December, told AJ, I needed to know by this date if we're fighting next, because I'm not holding up my career waiting on you because you're waiting on 2 next man. Because remember, AJ was waiting on Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury to both accept the fights before Dillian. So, and if all the rumors are to be believed, number one, he got given a very lowball offer to begin with, which even Eddie Hearn did admit on camera that it probably wasn't the greatest offer. Then I think eventually he said, okay, fine, I'll take it, even though like Joshua was training at this point in camp, whereas it was only about 9 weeks, I think, until the date that possibly would have gone. And he's like, well, no, I mean, I wanted 12, 16 weeks worth of testing and announcements or whatever. You're only giving me like 9, 10 weeks, but fine, I'll do it. Then apparently the rematch clause was in there saying, well, no, if you win, I still get like, what was it, 70-30 in the rematch or something like that. So then it's like, well, nah, I know what I'm worth. You see my numbers, like you don't deserve that if I become champion or whatnot. And he walked away. So yeah, there's reasons behind it, but ultimately, as people do say, he did walk away from it. Although he said on camera, look, the deal was never real, because you don't make that kind of offer if you really want to make the fight. Maybe he's right, but you know, sometimes there can be call your bluff offers, and that might just end up being one of them. Sometimes maybe you just got to call the bluff and see if it is real. But I also do understand being undervalued and underserviced. I mean, you know, you're getting paid to do a job. You don't want to feel like you're taking a lot less money than you're worth, even if it's just to prove yourself with the idea of getting more moving forward. I mean, I'm sure most of us can relate to that, especially when it comes to work and something that maybe you like to do, but at the end of the day, work is working. Like, no one really loves work. Well, in my opinion anyway. I mean, if I'm wrong, please tell me in the chat. But I think I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent on this one. I won't lie. Like I said, it's been a long week, a bit tired. Ultimately, to sum up this whole thing, I just feel like at this particular moment, Dillian Whyte is playing the game perfectly. I believe he's going to take it. You know, I believe he's been desperate for this shot. So if he doesn't take it for whatever reason, like, there's no way you can, there's no, oh, you know, I feel sorry for him, or I understand very. He's been begging for the shot for the longest time. Like, he's now got the shot. I know the circumstances at the moment ain't great. The arbitration's still going on. I think we get the resolution for that next month. But realistically, like, you just gotta take that belt. If you take that belt off of Fury, everything else becomes irrelevant. You then become the A side to every and anyone except the other champion. And realistically, I feel like if he beats Fury and Usyk beats Joshua, I reckon Usyk will probably still do a 50-50 deal, because he's not really a man that cares much about the money. He's not, you know, he just wants the belts. So he'll do what needs to be done to get the deal sorted out. Obviously, if it's AJ, then yeah, all right, cool. You're gonna have to take short money against AJ. Like, that's definitely a 60-40 kind of deal. Maybe 65-35, because he is the cash cow. So there's no, you know, there's no debate in that. You know, there's no moaning about the money the next time around. But yeah, like, he's gonna take the shot. And I feel as if you're going to see Fury start to come apart again. To be fair, sorry, I've seen in the build up to this, like, Fury's been overly dramatic on social media. It's like, I don't think he's comfortable in the current situation. I mean, hey, that could all be wrong. But yeah, he doesn't normally talk this much, this loud, this often. But yeah, we'll see. If I'm honest, I don't really know what the point of this video is anymore. I did have a start. I did have an idea in my mind at the start of it, but right now it's just the ramblings. So let's see if I even upload this part. But yeah, let's move on to something else. So in the UK, we've finally got our first card of the year. Or at least the first significant one, at least. We've got Chris Eubank Jr. against Liam Williams taking place this weekend. To a lesser extent, we've also got actually no, we got 3 cards on. I've just forgot, because remember, this was also supposed to be Liam Smith against Jesse Vargas as well. Then obviously that fight got moved onto the Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano card for the 30th of April. So Quadras versus Rodriguez is taking place on Saturday night as well. It was supposed to be Wrongverside, but apparently he's had a kidney issue. When he flew into America, something's happened to him. So wish him a speedy recovery. But yeah, Jesse Bam Rodriguez has taken his place. Chance to win the WBC, what was it, flyweight, the WBC flyweight title. So, or was it Superfly? One or the other. But yeah, so that's actually a good event. You've got the Keith Thurman Mario Barrios fight. I mean, I'm glad I don't live in America, because it looks like they just like to rob people left, right and center. Absolutely no quality control over there at the PBC. The whole card is contingent of fighters that are actually coming off of losses. and that's what everyone is paying $75 for. Like the main event is loss for loss, as your you know, like, so what is that? Is that a redemption fight? Is it end of the road fight? Like, what's the intrigue in it? Leo Santa Cruz, he's on the card as well. Obviously, he ain't fought, I believe, since he got beat by Gervonta Davis. When was that? Late 2020. So, I mean, Fight sent me an email the other day talking about, yeah, purchase the fight now. I was like, yeah, no, I'm all right, thank you. Even if I had credits left from when I was promoting Fight back in the day, like, that wouldn't be where I spent them, innit? I'd rather spend them on some AEW content, and I don't even watch AEW. Like, that's how much interest I don't have in that card. So yeah, I won't be watching that. I will be tuning into the Zone though. But more so than that, let's talk about this part of the world. So Chris Eubank Jr. against Liam Williams. Now that card, I mean, you got Otto Wallin against Kamil Sokolowski in a 6-rounder. I never thought I'd see Otto Wallin fighting 6-rounders again. It's a bit mad. Now, Kamil, I like Kamil. I feel he's one of those, he's the definition of a anywhere, anytime kind of person. And I respect that. His whole career was railroaded from it started, to be fair. And he's been on the end of some very poor decisions. I mean, I don't think he was ever going to be destined for greatness, but he's the type of guy that he comes to win every time. Like, whether he does or he doesn't, he's not just coming to give you to try to give you a couple rounds, get bored, and then say, oh, I'm done, and quit on the stool. Like, he's actually gonna come to give it a go. So when you've got your up and coming stars, when you've got guys that need a good shakeout, he's a guy you put them in there with, because if you're not in your A game, he will come and he will take your head off. But if you've got any decent skills about you, you will handle him quite comfortably, which we've seen from people like Solomon Dacus in the past, especially on the rise. So it's weird that you got someone like Otto Wallin coming to fight him, but overall, I mean, hey, cool, innit? Is Natasha Jonas on that card as well? Isn't she fighting Piaskowska? I think that's on this card on the 5th. Now, and she's fighting at super welterweight, 154. And it's funny because she always said that, you know, if you've got a belt between 130 and 147, I'm interested. But that 154, I'm trying to think how that's going to look on the scales. I mean, I know that she's not going to go all the way up to that weight, because even Eva Piaskowska isn't a 154. She normally weighs between 140 and 147. So she's a smaller girl as well. So you've got two undersized girls both fighting for the 154 belt. So that should even it up a little bit. But Piaskowska's still like the taller, rangier, more naturally bigger woman. So I mean, that could be a very tough ask for Natasha. I do think that's this weekend. I need to double check. But let's talk about Caroline Dubois. I've seen a couple of her interviews recently. She's already got 4 times the amount of personality that Daniel's got. But that wasn't difficult, if I'm being honest. But you know, her professional debut, I want to see what she can do in the pros. I saw her in the Olympics. I've seen some of her amateur stuff. Like, she's talented. So I hope she turns over and, you know, does well. And she seems like she's gonna be a character, and we all need, you know, more characters in the women's game. I'm actually planning on doing a video later on this week about some of the upcoming women's fights that are happening, not just the big ones either. There's a few sleepers that I want to let people in on. So yeah, I'm definitely keen to see what she's got to say for herself. So yeah, big up to Caroline, and good luck, you know, from a fellow South Londoner. Also, you got Clarissa Shields and Emma Cozen on the card. So Cozen, what is she, 21-0, I think, with 11 knockouts, and Shields is what, 11-0, I think, with, what is it, 1 knockout or 2 knockouts. Now look, realistically, Shields is on another level technically to Cozen. I've seen a couple of Cozen's fights, not all the way through, but I've seen enough to know that pretty much she's been fighting fairly limited opposition. Not much movement, not much hand speed, no angles to really worry about, no one that can sort of counter punch and sort of get in between the shots of her. But she does have fairly decent power. So I guess that's something that Clarissa needs to consider. Although, to be fair, I don't feel like anyone apart from Savannah Marshall, Franchon Cruz, Raquel Miller, I think those are probably the only people that have got like the necessary power to actually hurt Clarissa in those higher weights. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah. And there's another girl. What's her name? Her and Clarissa already fought, and she was the only one that dropped Clarissa in the fight. Her as well. I'll put a tag with her name in the video, just because that's gone out of my head. But yeah, I think those are the only people that really can sort of trouble her in that sense. But ultimately, I feel like Clarissa's going to make light work of this fight, to be honest, and I think she might even get the stoppage. I don't think it's going to be a knockout as such, because if you look at the fight that she had with Christina Hammer, there were several times in there where she was flurrying against Hammer, like landing sort of clean shots, and Hammer obviously didn't go down, but it was like 4, 5, maybe 6 shots unanswered, and then she would like tie up and clinch up. Now in America, they're a bit more liberal with the amount of unanswered punches that you can take, but this is the UK, and I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of what they used to call AJ stoppages, where you take 2, 3 or 4 shots and all of a sudden the ref jumps in. I think Conor Benn kind of got the same deal with Vargas as well. So just by virtue of wanting Clarissa to appear as a knockout artist to the public, if she lands one of those combinations and gets 3 or 4 solid shots off with nothing coming back, I definitely could see ref jumping in and waving the fight off. So look out for that, because that's a definite possibility. Outside of that, possibly a corner stoppage, or like you're getting battered, like you've got no way of coming back or winning this, like your power's not affecting her, let's just call it a night. To me, those are kind of the two most likely scenarios, but obviously then that just pretty much means Clarissa on points. Oh, I hope I'm wrong, but yeah, like either way, I feel like it's gonna be a fairly fun fight while it lasts. It'll be fun to see what Emma Cozen tries to bring in there. Now, main event. Okay, so you got Chris Eubank Jr., aka Roy Jones 0.25, and then you've got Liam Williams, aka 3 trainers in 6 fights. What do I think is going to happen in this? Now, okay, what I was actually supposed to do this week was watch back a few of the old fights of both of them. I was going to watch the Williams Atlantis Fox fight, the fight with Andrade, and a couple of others. I was even going to watch the Liam Smith fights, both of those. And Eubank, I was going to watch the Arthur Abraham and the Avni Yildirim. I was going to watch the George Groves, James DeGale. I was going to watch all these fights back just to sort of get into the mindset of, okay, how I can see this fight playing out stylistically without trying to do it off the top of my head from memory. But yeah, that didn't happen. Like I said, it's been a long week. So here's how I see things. Liam Williams, pound for pound, hits harder than Chris Eubank Jr. does. I believe Liam Williams also has better powers of recovery. He can be knocked down. We've seen that. We've seen him hurt, but he does seem to get himself together quite quickly. He's also, it's not really hard to believe, but he's actually also a better boxer technically than Chris Eubank Jr. So then you say, well, what does Chris do better than him? If Chris decides to let his hands go, he's a better combination puncher. People have this idea that Chris walks people down in order to sort of stop them, or in order to sort of get them out of there, which is like so far from the truth, it's unreal. He's actually a person that does better when someone comes and tries to pressure him. Like, he fights better sort of on the back foot with people, sort of trying to crowd his space and trying to throw shots at him. He gets his work off a lot easier that way. He's a lot easier for him to find a target when someone is coming right in front of him, as opposed to him having to try and find them. Now, if Liam Williams plays into that part of things, which he has done in quite a few of his previous fights, like being more of a pressure fighter as opposed to like a boxer puncher, then that sets things up for Chris. Now, while Chris isn't the most heavy-handed, he's definitely got enough power to hurt you. I believe he's probably got the better chin, because I feel like Liam Williams has been in more wars overall than Chris has. And maybe this might be the moment where the styles gel in terms of the Roy Jones Jr. link up with Chris Eubank. I mean, look, I've always clowned Chris's rhythm and his footwork, because I mean, he definitely didn't get his rhythm from his dad. I've said that numerous times. Like, he always looks all over the place. Like, his punches don't coincide with his feet moving forward. He doesn't look comfortable when he's angling away from shots. Everything just looks cumbersome and clunky. But maybe Roy's managed to get some of that out of there now. So we'll see. But okay, so y'all want a prediction. Initially, I thought that Liam Williams will win this fight. And I thought it'd be on points, because I didn't think he would be able to stop Chris. I don't think that's in Chris's... that's not going to be a part of Chris's legacy for at least a couple years, until maybe he steps up to the super elite level. But after watching the press conference and that sort of weigh-in thing they done earlier on, Liam Williams looks like he's exuding quite a bit of nervous energy. Chris looks calm, and Liam looks like pumped nervous energy, I should say. But I feel like him being in his hometown, even from watching the Gloves Are Off, which happened several months back before the fight got rescheduled, I feel as if he's not fully comfortable, like, having so many of his home supporters there. primarily he's done a lot of his fighting like in England, sort of London and you know, sort of Midlands, up north. Couple fights on the road as well. So it's almost being like the away fighter, the road warrior. Well, what happens when the road warrior comes home? Sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming. And then I look at, even though him and Chris are almost the same size in height, he used to compete at 154. Chris has competed as high as 168. So naturally he's been in there with bigger guys, bigger punchers, physically more imposing people than what Liam Williams is. Now, Williams is, if I'm correct, still a Frank Warren Queensberry promoted guy. Oh, actually, no, he's not. Frank did an interview. They said they've actually parted ways. So Williams may be with Boxer now, or Pro Bellum, or one variation of the two. Chris is technically Wasserman. Now, Wasserman is still a part of Sky Sports, but Wasserman aren't Boxer. They're two different promotions. And this is a Boxer card. So if Williams is with Boxer, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the decision on points, provided he can keep his nerves together. But whereas they want to make Chris, like, I guess, this big star over here with the lineage and the legacy of the Eubank name, he could equally get the decision here. So I really haven't done enough research on this one. But I'm going to make a bold prediction here. It does go to points. I don't see either person knocking the other one out. And if a knockout was to happen, I think accumulation, it would be Chris getting the KO. But I'm going to go with Liam Williams split decision. I think he's got enough to do that. And gosh, I hope this is probably the worst take I've had in the last 5 years. But probably won't be. Alright, that's what I'm going to predict for now. Say it's on camera, so whatever happens, I guess. But that's not to say I want Chris to lose. I don't. Like, I actually want him to win. I'm just trying to work out the variables. But is he the star of the show? Yeah, I mean, technically you can't be the A side if you have to go into the other guy's back garden. So he is technically, I think he is the B side, because Williams is now with Sky Sports. It's a politics thing. Yeah, all right. That's a prediction. I'm gonna go with you back. I'm gonna go with Williams on points, split decision, and yeah, let's see how right or wrong I am come Sunday. There will be a Sunday edition, and I'm aiming to get 2 videos out next week as well, before Friday's edition, before when we talk about Danny Jacobs and John Ryder, because I will be at the fight. I'm going to see if I can get some footage actually, because I'll splice that into my Sunday wrap-up video as well. There was some other things I did want to talk about, but it's cool. We can leave those for another time. If they stay relevant, we'll chat about them. But overall, I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks everyone for watching. I apologize if this one's been all over the place. It's first time back. I'm trying to get back into the groove. Let me know about the mic. Let me know about the sound. If there's that hiss in the background still, give me a shout. I'll put the music back in from the next one and we'll keep it moving. If it's calm, you guys tell me if you like things with or without the music. You know, I will always want the feedback, and yeah, we'll keep it moving that way. But I'm gonna sign off now, because even Mbaku Panther over there is falling asleep from the sound of my voice. It's whatever. Please like and subscribe, as I said. Thank you for watching, and for now, Hardcore Casual out.